Hello, I'm going to show you how I burnish pots. This is greenware that I made. You want to put Terra Sigillata on, either dip it or spray it on when your piece is either leather hard and starting to dry, or when it's completely bone dry. It's kind of hard to work with. You have to be careful when it's bone dry, but I think it absorbs the Terra Sigillata, and you better get a better coat on it when it is bone dry. So I'm gonna show you how I burnish. There are different ways to burnish. You can use a stone to rub. What you're doing is you're compacting the particles in the clay, and the Terra Sig into the clay. That strengthens the pot, and it also kind of gives it a skin, a thicker, since you're not going to have glaze on it, it kind of creates a skin. The Terra Sigillata that's been burnished creates a skin. You can burnish before you put the Terra Sig on and then burnish again, but I found out, I think it's Charlie and Linda Riggs, I've taken several of their workshops, and Jim Whalen, several workshops. I used to do the burnishing before putting on the Terra Sig, and now I just take I don't burnish before I do the Terra Sig. So I've just dipped it. I dipped it half down and then let it dry, and then dip the top part in. The problem with dipping is occasionally you'll get runs, which are not desirable, but it does happen sometimes. You don't have to wipe the Terra Sig off the bottom, because all Terra Sig basically is very, very fine particles of clay. So it's not going to stick to anything. You don't have to worry about wiping it off the bottom. So I've got dry cleaners plastic. And what I do is just pick up the pot, hold it with the dry cleaners plastic, and just start. You kind of start with the rim, going back and forth on the rim. What you're doing right now is strengthening the rim. You can't push too hard or you'll break the rim, but you've got to push it hard enough to start to get a shine. I don't know if you can tell yet at all, but there's a little bit of a shine starting there. You can probably see it somewhat. So what I do is it's good to go in circles, because that way you're compressing the Terra Sigillata particles into the clay and making them go in different directions. And this is time consuming, of course. What about pottery is not time consuming? Sometimes people take the plastic and wrap it around their fingers. I used to do that more. And the thing is, you don't want to dig your fingernails in there. That's the problem. You don't want to dig your fingernails or do anything to scratch the Terra Sigillata. When you can use the back of a spoon, or you can use a really smooth rock if you want to. They say the shinier you want your surface, the shinier the rock or piece of glass, like beach glass or something, needs to be. But it should not have any grooves in the glass or in the rock. Here's a rock I use sometimes. It's just very smooth. You don't want it to have anything on it. Got to be very smooth, very round. It shouldn't have any cracks or anything like that on it. But sometimes I still end up with streaks from where I've burnished with the rock. I would suggest trying different things and see what you like better and what the best shine is that you get. So you just keep turning and keep burnishing. You could do this for hours. You don't have to do it for hours, but if you want it super shiny, you can. I don't know if you can tell a difference in the shininess or not, and what it was and what it's starting to be like. The places that are darker still have, the terracid is still drying a little bit. So that's why I've got some darker spaces and places and some lighter places. Where it's more dry, it's lighter. I've also seen not to try to keep your hands off of it, because you can leave fingerprints that'll show up after you've fired the pot. After the pit firing, sometimes the fingerprints still show up. Also, one thing I don't think I mentioned in the notes that I gave everybody, when you are making the pot, try to make it as smooth as possible. It's kind of a tricky thing because you want clay that has a little bit of grog in it so that it stands up in the pit firing, but you also want a smooth clay because the smooth clay burnishes better. I'm using Phoenix right now, and of course it's got grog, and occasionally I'll run across a piece, like right there's a little piece of grog that I should have gotten out but didn't. If you accidentally break the pot, you know, don't be too upset, because this whole thing of burnishing, taking a green pot, dipping it in terracid, burnishing while it's green, and then you fire at cone 08 to 010 to bisque fire it, and then the burnishing before the bisque firing. All that you're working on, when you're working on a fragile pot like this, you might break it. It's just one of those things as a potter you just have to get used to and make another one. So this is the way I do it, and you can keep going. You can keep going more and more and more. Let me show you a piece that I have not burnished compared to the one I have burnished. And there, go putting my fingers on it. This one has not been burnished yet. Can you see a difference? Let me hold it up to the camera better. I don't know if you can tell a difference. This one's not shiny. This one is shinier. I will burnish it some more, but I don't want to bore you completely to death with showing you how I burnish. It's basically the same thing, just rub, rub, rub. You could do this while you're watching TV or something at night, because it's kind of, I mean, you can watch what you're doing, but you don't have to. It's kind of the feel of it all. If you need some dry cleaners plastic, I have gone to the cleaners nearby and just asked them. I was going to buy a little bit of dry cleaner plastic, and they gave me some. Or you can take some clothes in to be dry cleaned, of course. But it works well. I'm going to work on that some more. This one I already burnished, but I think I'll probably work on it some more too. It's still got some damp places. And like I said, if you want to wrap it around your fingers and really get in there and work on those areas to make it shinier, you can do that. You can give it a little more compression this way. I will send you guys a recipe for Terra Sigillata if you don't have it, or you can just Google Terra, T-E-R-R-A, Sigillata, S-I-G-I-L-L-A-T-T-A, to get a recipe. There are lots of recipes out there. There's a special procedure to use also when you're making the Terra Sigillata. I think it's changed. Back in the older days, you mixed it up and then you waited for 24 hours. You siphoned off the top watery layer. Then you siphoned, there were 3 distinct layers. The top layer was super watery. There's a middle layer and a bottom layer of sludge. The top layer you siphoned off and threw it away. The middle layer you siphoned off and kept it. The bottom layer was just sludge, and you throw it out because it's got sodium silicate in it and you can't really use it for anything else, so you can't put it back and recycle it. Anyway, from some things I read recently, people are siphoning off the top 2 layers and not, excuse me, not throwing away the top part, which makes it a little too watery, I think. I mean, terra sigillata is thin. I actually do 2 coats, dipped it in two times in the terra sigillata. I will work on these some more. This one I haven't worked on at all. And I'm also going to send the kiln group some more information on what we're going to do, like what kinds of things to collect to put onto your pots. I'll just tell you a little bit, but I will send a list. Before the pit firing, you'll have your pot terra-siged, burnished, and bisque to 08 or 010. And the reason for that low bisque fire is to you want to let the smoke and the other pieces of organic material that we're going to put on the pots. It makes colors and it sinks, the pot absorbs it more if it's lower bisque fired. So that's the reason for lowering the bisque firing. One thing I would like for you to start saving are, well, I mean, we don't need a ton of them, but we need to save a few banana peels, let them just dry up, and banana peels work. If you have a little bit of dog food or cat food, we only need like a few pieces per pot. I have soaked some sweet gum balls in salt and then let them dry. We can put sweet gum balls around the pot if you want to. If you have any seaweed, that's good to put around it, to put on the pot. We'll take copper wire and wrap around the pot, and where the copper wire is, sometimes it turns blackish, sometimes it's more of a reddish color. I'll be putting, I have copper sulfate, which is drain cleaner. It's kind of toxic, no doubt, but that creates different colors, often blue. It can be a reddish color depending on the atmosphere in the pit fire. Another thing is, if you have any copper wire scrubbies like they used to make, it used to be Chore Girl, I think. It's a scrubby that you made out of copper. You just pull those apart, and we'll use the copper wire to drape down the pot. And the copper, I've got some copper wire I'll use. You can wrap it in different ways, and also stick organic things behind it, like stick a piece of dog food in under the copper wire. That holds the organic material to the pot. We can try pieces of grass. I've got some river cane out there that looks like bamboo. We can take leaves of that and put it on it and see what it does. Other things we can add to it are, what else? Any kind of organic. You can take lettuce, take some lettuce and stick on it. Apple peels, if you have apple peels, we'll put some of that on there. In other words, just save some of your organic trash and bring it for the pit firing, and we'll use it. Coffee grounds you can put on there. I'll have some salt here. You can sprinkle salt on it. Often gives little specks, and I'll have some sugar. When you sprinkle sugar on it, it leaves black dots on the pot. The best thing to do is bring a notebook too, to take notes of what you put on your pot, because it's so hard to remember once you've gotten the pot out of the fire. So anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Anybody that's interested in doing it in the kiln group for Carolina Clay Matters. It'll be toward the end of May or the first part of June when I'm ready to fire. Look forward to seeing you, and if you have any questions, contact me at sylviacoppola@gmail.com, SYLVIACOPPOLA @gmail.com. Take care.